what's happening in Ukraine has already pushed mankind to the brink of a nuclear disaster. Any wrong step in the wrong direction may really push this beyond the point of no return.
How involved are China, and how involved do you think they could be?
Well, first of all, what's happening in Ukraine is deplorable, and China has been urging all parties concerned to de-escalate and do their best through negotiation and diplomacy to bring the war to an end with minimum civilian losses. There are lots of news agencies in China which are covering the situation in Ukraine, and they are doing their professional job in all parts of Ukraine, wherever there is a battle. What you mentioned in the eastern part of Ukraine is just one of the many Chinese teams working, doing their job to report what's going on in the Ukrainian situation. No one should really disregard any part of the war in Ukraine. I think total coverage, objective reporting will be true and very important to projecting a real total image of what's going on in Ukraine. China for peace for Ukraine has been urging all parties to de-escalate. That's a very important thing.
But if China genuinely wanted peace, it could be doing more on that front, couldn't it? It could really force it from Russia.
With due respect, no one can force Russia. All the economic sanctions against Russia will not achieve its desired goal because it will only force Russia and President Putin more into the corner, and then they will pounce back more. So, especially because what's happening in Ukraine has already pushed mankind to the brink of a nuclear disaster, any wrong step in the wrong direction may really push this beyond the point of no return. And whatever that's happening in Ukraine, tragic as it is, destabilizing, demoralizing as it is, may really not compare with the total nuclear catastrophe which may wipe out mankind from the face of the earth. So we need to be philosophical, we need to be wise and rational and reasonable when we face with the largest country with nuclear weapons directly in conflict with Ukraine.
And I wonder if that is the risk, though, could you see China going further and actually, maybe levelling some economic sanctions of its own against against Russia, or not supplying parts and equipment it needs for its military invasion?
You have several points in your questions, which are very important questions. First of all, Russia has the most powerful military force in the world and the most sophisticated weaponries in the world. It would be surprising if Russia would need any military assistance from China at this particular point. Secondly, the fact that Russia is not using its most sophisticated weaponries in Ukraine doesn't mean that they don't have it. They probably hold on to the most sophisticated weapons in preparation for a potential showdown with the United States or NATO. For example, the war does escalate. So we need to be very careful. I think what China is doing right now, since the very beginning of the outbreak of the war in Ukraine, is the most decent thing. That is to open up the channels of communication with both Russia on the one hand and Ukraine on the other hand, and deliver the message behind the scene through diplomatic ways. That is, both sides need to de-escalate, bring the war to an end, minimize civilian losses. This is the best approach right now, rather than pouring more fuel onto the fire in Ukraine.